Sierra Entertainment presents Time Shift, an intense action-packed first-person shooter for the Xbox 360, PC, and PS3. Armed with the experimental beta suit, you alone are able to slow, stop, and reverse the flow of time. Lead the uprising to victory by mastering time to become the ultimate weapon. Time Shift will be available October 30th on the Xbox 360 and PC. Visit www.timeshiftgame.com for more details.
Take two. We're recording!
Nice. Very good. How'd you get in here? What are you doing here?
I wanted to join the Brodio.
Welcome to the Brodio. Welcome to the Brodio. It's Crispin from EGM.
Yeah.
Hi, yay.
Hello.
This is GFW Radio, GFW Brodio, Games for Windows, the official magazine podcast, November 1st, 2007. Why am I talking this way? I know, because I just had 18 pieces of candy.
Halloween.
Halloween. It's the day after Halloween, and we're all jacked up on candy.
Halloween stories. Let's
Welcome.
start off with Halloween
No,
stories.
you have to introduce yourselves first. We have to do that. I'm Jeff Green.
My name is Sean Elliott. One time, when I was like 6, we went trick-or-treating. My cousin, old lady down the block, gave us apples. My cousin wasn't feeling that. Spit on her face. No doubt.
Wow.
Who's up next?
Sean Malloy.
This is a lot of pressure, Sean.
Yeah, I know. I want to talk about how crappy this paint job on this plastic pumpkin head is.
Wow, you're right.
Whoa.
That's seriously true.
Yeah, it's awful.
Is that straight from Walgreens?
It's
Well,
made in America.
it came
it's American
from
ingenuity.
some game company brought this to us yesterday, and they filled it with candy. But you're right. They bought the cheapest ass plastic orange pumpkin with a real. This is like a magic marker.
They've had 30
colored.
years to perfect that technology. I had that exact pumpkin when I was a kid.
You're right. Look, they didn't even color in the eye all the way. How lame.
It's like the spray, the stencil's off by like a half an
they
inch.
were. Somebody in the factory was like, whatever. Yeah,
Their tolerance
Sell
was
it.
plus or minus 3,000%.
And it said when you looked at it, we knew because, like, yes, for 30 years, this is the same one that my cousin was holding when he spit on that old bag's face. And you're like, so it's got to be made in America, right? But everything else, so what? We got a single piece of plastic, and they couldn't paint the fucking black eye on,
I know.
match the stencil to the thing.
But look,
yet
someone bought it anyway,
but
so
at a,
they were
like,
right.
At a Hong Kong or anywhere, you can get some toy with like 600 parts and screws and
Right.
stuff in it, and it's all made with nanotechnology. Anything in Crispin's office that'll talk back to you when you come in, make you feel like you're loved. And this thing right here, you
why
couldn't
it's
even
there.
paint the eyeball on there right.
Maybe it was made by like
Our
a
country's
journeyman at the
deep
factory.
shit.
Right,
An
it was
apprentice.
An apprentice. This was his first job. But somebody bought
There's
it.
supposed to be a pile of these somewhere in the back of the factory where they throw them.
I like the handmade touch. You could tell that this is. It's
Oh, is that
pretty
what
good
it is?
first try. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are your names? What else? Who's this guy right here?
Ryan Scott?
Do you have a good Halloween story for us?
No.
What's your favorite candy?
No.
What's my favorite candy?
Yeah.
Ask me all these
And time's up.
questions.
God, you're useless. What's the last costume you remember dressing up as before you stopped, before you got too old for it, or are you yet?
Michael Myers.
Michael Myers. That's pretty good.
The comedy.
You don't mean Michael Myers, the PR guy, do you?
No.
That is an awesome
that's a
costume.
game company insider joke. There's a PR guy named Mike Myers.
Michael Myers, though, that's like when you go
The
to
voice of Shrek.
Spirit Halloween Superstore 5 hours before Halloween proper, and all you get is the Scream mask and a pirate sword.
So was it one of those
You get 'em?
plastic masks with the little mouth hole in it that
Oh,
you
those are gross.
It was like a good Michael Myers mask.
Well, I've
And I
always
had like the
heard-
jumpsuit
like a full
and all that
mask,
stuff.
not
Yeah,
one of the plastic
like
things with the string.
It was like an actual Michael Myers mask, like made by.
Well, wasn't the Michael Myers mask an inside-out Captain Kirk mask?
Yeah, that's
It
what I
was
always
a
heard.
William Shatner mask, spray painted white with the hair.
Really?
You were
Straight out.
William Shatner inside out.
Basically.
No, that's awesome. Yeah.
A bad teleportation, bad beam accident. You're just a pulsing pile of flesh.
Right.
Michael Myers.
It's the same technology that's responsible for the fly.
That's right.
Oh,
It
yeah.
is, very much. You don't just hop
Scary
through
shit.
those.
Do not play with that. Do not play with that.
So you got Halloween story you're just dying to share?
He said no.
Anyone though. Let's open
anyone.
the floor.
Well, it's Crispin's turn.
Well, I meant like the most depressing Halloween was the year of the Tylenol scare. Do you remember?
Oh, yeah.
that was like no one had their lights on.
Right.
They still don't in my neighborhood.
But the nice thing that I do remember about that year is that you'd still go up to houses and they would give you money. They'd give you like a quarter because they didn't want any part of it. Yeah.
You can't buy shit
Just
for
to
a
get you
quarter.
out
Yeah,
there?
but you hit like 6 blocks and you've got like,
That's true.
$20.
In my neighborhood, it was pennies.
Oh, man.
And then you
Just
take
to toss some pennies in your bag.
You take that was when you start taking your stuff into the hospital to get it x-rayed, right?
Oh, I remember that.
You
yeah.
went trick-or-treating, let's go to the hospital
For
now.
needles
Get
and
it x-rayed so you can eat irradiated candy.
Yeah, that's heartwarming. God bless America.
This tastes like cancer.
Yeah, I hate like, I mean, my daughter's like a little bit, I'm like, she's too cool to trick-or-treat with Dad anymore. But a few years ago when we were still trick-or-treating as a family, before I was excommunicated, like you'd walk down the neighborhood where people are giving away, and there's always like the house, they're home, and they got like the front lights out because they don't want to participate. That's like such a fuck you. Turn your fucking light on. Go spend $10 and pass out some candy. How fucking like hateful to humanity do you have to be to not want to give little kids candy on Halloween? No, I'm busy. I have stuff to do.
It depends where you're
God
at, though.
damn.
Could be
You know,
religious
this
reasons.
yesterday morning on the BART coming in, there's this dude. BART is Bay Area Rapid Transit. It's our local little choo-choo train. And some fool comes in, and he's wearing like a Happy New Year banner and some big dumbass raver hat. And he's got one of those kazoos where it like unscrolls.
Yeah, sure.
As you blow on it, and he's blowing that in everyone's face saying Happy New Year. And it's like you could tell, like, I just woke it up and I was trying to read this new book I got. And, this
is different.
In your mind, you're like, this guy's thinking, like, I'm here just for guys like you.
Right.
You know, you're just like, all you stiff
Live it
suits.
up. Right.
Yeah, I'm here to remind you of happiness. I'm like, no, dude, you're a dumbass blowing a stupid horn in my fucking face
Right,
and
but
I'm trying
this
to
is-
read. I don't care
Right,
what
but this
you
is
are.
a commute train in the morning, right?
Jeff, don't bring your kid to my house for Halloween.
Yeah, you can be a curmudgeon, like anti holiday guy on the commute train, but when it's Halloween night, and all the houses around you all have their lights on and the ghosts out,
What if it was the old lady that got spit on?
it could be.
She learned a lesson.
If you're in
Classical
if
conditioning.
you're in the house and you're like 90 years old and you got, I don't know, boils on your face or whatever, then okay, you get a pass. But if you're like some like yuppie couple who's just inside and you want to watch Desperate Housewives and you don't want to be bothered by the kids, fuck you.
Oh, not the Gilmore Girls.
Hey, shut up.
Well, in the city, there are no kids. San Francisco doesn't have
That's
children,
true.
so you're not really bothered. But I saw a homeless guy yesterday wearing a rubber banded on vampire mask, and we were walking for lunch, and I was like, hey, look, it's Grandpa Munster. and on the way past, some guys did have, in my group had some candy, and we dropped it in his hat, and I don't think he thought it was funny.
Really?
He was not out
Then
there.
why was he wearing a costume?
I think he thought, because homeless people here really have to try hard to get noticed.
Yeah.
So I thought he'd give him that edge, but instead he got candy, which is, I'm sure, not going to go well with his diabetes anyways.
I liked when that early homeless meme started going around among the funnier homeless guys started doing that, need money for beer thing. Like the first couple of times you saw that, you were like, hey, that's funny. I'm actually going to give him money because it's true.
And
But
then you went and
now
told
they all
everyone,
do it.
and you
so
had
it's
that
like,
big discussion at dinner too. So I ran into this bum the other day, and then you ended up at the podcast doing.
what?
That was meta. No, but you know how many
Wasn't
times
the only one.
we've all had a circumstance, right, where you're with someone and you're like, this guy's sign, it said like, my ninja stole my family and killed my dog. And you're like, that guy, he was funny, so I'm
Guy's a
going to give
card.
him money. It's not funny. You win money.
I saw some guy,
What- yeah.
some guy walking down the street yesterday dressed as a MySpace page.
What does
Really?
that look like? He just
He had like a cardboard thing with like MySpace-esque.
Whoa.
did it have
Blocks
any
of
troll?
text.
Did it have
Was
trolls on it or
And
anything?
he,
Some
I
like
don't
techno
know.
music blaring.
And like on the left there was like a cutout where he put his where he put it over like on his supposed to be his picture.
I understand there were lots of companion cubes at the various game industry Halloween parties.
There
this
were.
year.
There was a lot more.
Oh, God.
There was a lot more Orange Box themed costumes and a lot of Bioshock themed costumes.
Oh.
and really no Halo themed costumes. But I don't know really what you'd have to like go the full. This
Yeah,
Because
You're
it's
not
so
Master
easy to
Chief, who
confuse
the hell
it,
are
though.
you?
Like, if you get the gorilla costume from Halloween Spirit, the Spirit Halloween Superstore, you might be confused for something or the other. Or if you get
you
just
could be a
like
brute. from
any
Halo.
random rubber mask that some kid just that has a subscription to Fangoria made in his spare time. And
Surprised
Something
people
like
didn't
that.
carve out
Spencer
their
gifts.
legendary Super Edition helmets that they got when they bought that.
Oh.
Find some way to do it. Yeah. Well, that's because it's easy. I hear you guys making these snide, backhanded, remarks about Halo, but the thing is anyone can stitch together a few rags, or just take a styrofoam cube and paint a heart on it and say that they have something to do with Orange Box. But you need skill, you need technical. If you're going to make a Spartan, and don't say Master Chief because it's form a Spartan Space Marine armor,
Right, Mark II.
Who's this new righteous
Moderna Mark II. Yeah.
Originally, we're selling armor, and we put some track cards next to them, and we sold so many. Soon we're selling more and more track and less armor.
Well, that company that made the Spartan armor, they were forced to quit. That it was like NightmareArmor.com. They used to make really realistic, like as realistic looking as the guys who dress like stormtroopers. They would make the Spartan armor, but Microsoft was like, you can't make money off.
That's
our
cool.
IP. Now they do other armor that's vaguely related to games, but yeah.
Do those stormtrooper guys still get work? Do they? Because there's in cities all over the country, right?
Yeah.
That like they have these. There's like a name for them, right? Isn't there like some?
Yeah,
there's like
something Legion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Legion.
They're like the new Civil War reenactor,
Right?
For a fictional.
I just
war.
wonder if they're, if there's less call for them now. If they're all just sitting around in their meetings going, "Fuck,"
They're like, we need to get some Spartan armor.
right? No one's calling us
Paint it
anymore,
green.
man. And this stuff's uncomfortable.
And they're
This is
never. There's
true.
always like the the Boba Fett guy, and like the Darth Vader. All these guys put all this money and effort into their costumes.
Right, because Lucas doesn't pay them, right? They got to do this themselves.
Right.
Yeah.
But then they're like 300 pounds. It's like why not work
Loosen
on
it
the
up.
other part of the costume, which is actually
Getting
fitting
in
into it. Yeah. My disbelief is
More
not
new
suspended.
Yeah,
Aren't
that's
you a little
true.
fat for a stormtrooper?
Yeah, every once in a while, you go to the LucasArts parties, and these guys are there, and there's always the one guy, He usually doesn't have the head thing on because it can't fit either. Some fat, bearded dude with...
Crack it open, and they have a couple rubber bands, couple pieces of twine holding it together. There's a big seam. You see his hair coming out in between.
Yeah, he's like eating a caramel apple. It's like,
Unloose the stitching a little bit.
But if you're like a dude with encephalitis, or you look like the guy from Mask, you should spin that and then be like Admiral Akbar. That's like a perfect. It's the one day of the year when you can look like.
Several costume opportunities exist for hydrocephaloids. You simply got to know where to look.
that's your one day of the year. This is my coming out party. Happy Halloween, kids. It's my face. Do you have anything gaming related to talk about this week at all?
Yeah, I got one. It's
Do you?
related to games, kind of.
Is it okay?
It's a
good start.
It's a Dreamcast. Crispin, I might have told you this story. I don't know. That's how I start all my stories. So
I'll stop you when you've told it to me, and then you can just stop telling it.
That makes for great radio.
So
I did hear this one.
at one point when I was in grad school, I had a friend down from San Diego who was my old roommate as an undergrad was staying over, and one morning he wakes up and he goes over to my room and wakes me up and says, "Hey, do you know some guy meets this description?" I'm like, "What are you talking about, dude? Leave me alone. Go back to bed." And it's like someone was just in here like standing above me, and I asked him like who are you? Do you know Sean? And the guy was just like, "Yeah, I know him." And and he's like, "I just sensed something was wrong." So I told him, I don't think you should be here. And then he just said, "Okay." And then he left. And so the setup is that this guy also, he was prone, this guy's Mike Cole, he was prone to waking hallucinations. So now and then he'd wake up and think he
Waking
saw
hallucinations?
Yeah, where in the borderlands between sleep and wakefulness, like sometimes certain people will have these odd, like jarring transitions where they'll think they see themselves looking at them from the end of the bed. Various, neuropsychologists and stuff have taken it back and through time and said, hey, maybe this is an explanation for some of the more archaic descriptions of people thinking that there were demons sitting on their chest when they woke up and making it difficult for them to breathe and whatnot. So anyway, this is all important because I just dismissed it. Ultimately, I'm like, you tripping, Mike. Until a week later, which would be Christmas, it was the night of Christmas Eve, I was sleeping and I woke up. I don't know why. It was just kind of, I woke up and I looked at my door, which was closed, and beneath it I saw a flash of light. And it was just a very small single-bedroom apartment where there was the room, and then right outside there was the living room, which was the kitchen and everything all together, and then there's a bathroom next to it. So I said, okay, whatever. I'm just tripping out. I'm going to go to the bathroom and go back to bed. So I go to the bathroom, I stand there, and I turn around, and as I'm going back to my room, I see a silhouette of some fool, like, standing in my living room. And so then I just kind of pretended I didn't see him and went back into my room and looked around for something. I didn't have anything, any kind of weapon, so I just took a belt I had and then connected the buckle and then let the rest hang in my hand so that I could, like, whip the shit out of him with that, hitting him in the face with the buckle. And then, so I went out in the living room holding this thing, and the guy was, like, still there. And I turned the light on, and he's just there all of a sudden. I was like, what are you doing in my house, man? But I was all pissed off. You know, I mean, I was, like, total fight or flight.
Was he like a crazy-looking guy?
Really keyed up. No, he was just a dude. He was wearing, like, a hoodie, you know, and he had his hands in his pocket doing that kind of shit. And the first thing he says, he's like, "It's okay. I've been sent here to protect you." And,
Whoa.
And then I look, as he says this, I'm looking around and I see, and this is why we're talking about games now.
Yeah, I
my
don't know where this story's
Dreamcast,
going.
my Dreamcast and my Dreamcast games are all lined up, you know, with my checkbook and my wallet. They're all lined up on my coffee table. And there's like a bag near him. And he's like sitting there and I'm like, dude, okay, seriously. Like, I mean, I'm like, I called the cops. I didn't really, of course. My phone was out in the living room. I didn't even have a cell phone at the time. And he's like, just remember, I've been sent here to protect you. And so he was really great at it because I came out of the room ready to immediately just start fighting. And I knew I'm like, hey, I'm probably about to get stabbed or shot now, but I'm not going to go in my room and pretend that this shit's not happening. So I went out there ready to do that. And immediately it caught me off guard long enough to ask myself, what the hell? In Ryan's words. And so then, yeah, anyway, basically it just was super awkward. And he kept saying, just remember, you're unhurt. Just remember, you haven't been hurt. Like some like weird innuendo, you know? Like, hey, I had the chance when you were asleep, maybe I could have gotten there and jacked you or something.
Was there was there an acknowledgement here that a robbery was in place?
Other than that, yeah, I was like, other than I'm sitting there like brandishing the belt thing, and he's kind of doing the hands in the pockets, like intimating
like
a weapon.
He has a gun, okay.
Right? You know. And then eventually, it was just the most bizarre thing. I'm sure it probably just happened in 30 seconds, you know. And he says, "Okay, I'm gonna grab my kamikaze sack and just slip out. Remember, I'm here protecting you." And like then I was like, oh, all right, dude. And then he grabbed his bag, you know, and then went and immediately.
Did he scoop up your stuff?
No, he didn't get anything.
So he didn't steal anything.
Then I would have went back to the fighting mode. At that point, I was like, okay, you can leave, and then I'll work about catching you later. But I'm like, I still don't know what he had because he was doing that with both hands, like playing very much like, you know, I don't know what you got. And I'm like, and also, if someone's crazy enough to break in your fucking place twice, to come in your place twice, I mean, obviously, you're not talking about like, hey, the old like, let's meet in the playground and tussle. You're talking about, you know, pretty much a fight to the death or incapacitation. So I was like, hey,
to protect that Dreamcast.
I got that,
sure.
yeah.
I know.
But anyway, yeah, that was. And it turned out he had the key to the place because that's why I didn't hear it, and somehow I had the key to it, and so.
How do you have a key?
Freaked me out for a long time. I put a bunch of wind chimes on the door to wake me up. And I got a.
Not only is it good protection, but they sound nice.
Yeah, everyone.
There,
There's so
nice
many people,
sort
and then
of-
you go back to work, and everyone, of course, you hear. You know, when I was in grad school, and I also worked at the grocery store. Everyone on the grocery store side's like, "Oh man, I would have blown that motherfucker's head off if he did that to me." And like, you got to hear that all month long. And like, well, too bad I didn't have a gun to do it with, huh? And they, well, that's why we got to get you one. And it's like, so instead, I bought I bought basically like an entrenching tool, and I had that right on my bed.
You
Underneath
needed
there,
like
so
a
I was-
ninja star and like a machete.
Yeah.
My version of the story would have involved going back to the room, staying there, clutching my tenant's insurance policy under my blanket.
It was the second story too, so I couldn't go out the window.
Pardon me while I take some photos of my property.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, if it's
So
gone,
who was
today's
this guy?
topic: has anyone ever tried to gank your games?
Yeah,
It was just
actually.
some fool. It was just some.
Did you ever find out what the deal was?
Never caught him or anything. Please don't care, because I ended up. It was so weird, and it was in like, because I was moving from Seattle to Bellingham, Washington, which is up on the Canadian border toward Vancouver, and I was like, I'll just look in the paper or whatever. I don't need to go up and check anything out there. It's Bellingham. How bad can it possibly be? And so I ended up, there actually was a slum area there, and I ended up signing up for a year lease with this place in it where there had just been a drive-by like 6 months before. There was like no lighting or anything, just stray cats everywhere.
But that was like the most polite, relaxing robbery that I've ever
Yeah,
heard.
I know.
very much
He
was.
said he was there to protect you. I thought it was going to be like a superhero story.
Yeah, no kidding.
That's what it was sounding like to me.
He knew how to play it.
He was like a hero sort of guy, you know?
He was a
Like
hero.
the mutants had come in to try to steal your shit, and he was there saving it.
So what did he take?
He didn't take anything.
Weird.
Maybe he was there to
He was
protect
just
you.
lining it. That's how a lot of criminals, burglars or whatever, they'll lay stuff out. Like Sean, you were saying you were
Well, I don't
You were
understand this thing
burgled.
about
We were burgled.
lining the shit up.
burglarize the turf.
Was he like an OCD criminal? Why was he lining it all up?
Exactly
Just
what
shove it
happened
into
to
the
us.
bag.
Our house was broken into, and
Yeah.
we didn't see the guy do it. But when we got home, our stereo equipment and all our CDs were perfectly lined up on the floor. Like they took it all apart and laid it all out.
That's so freaky.
They left with our jewel cases, but not the CDs.
Weird.
And our 2 Atari Lynxes. Like we had one. Me and my brother each had an Atari
had
Lynx.
two
so we
of
could,
them.
So we could link them up and play, I don't know,
Wow.
Xenophobe together or whatever the hell
God.
you
Holy
play on
shit.
that thing.
The Atari Lynx is almost as big as the 8800 GTX.
It was a giant machine, and I loved it.
Wow.
It had scaling.
I've never heard of this, the crooks lining the stuff up.
It was really
This is a
creepy.
whole...
Might be the same.
I'm not
crook.
reading the right crime
Could be
manual.
the same one.
Yeah, I'm the same guy. Yeah.
Well, our theory was our grandmother, who lived upstairs, like started coming down the stairs, so they jetted. Because otherwise, why would you just take the jewel cases and leave the stereo equipment like that? I don't know. It was weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
Did you
was
just say
really
they didn't?
freaky.
They took the jewel cases, but not the CDs.
Right.
So they took the
blank
CDs out of the jewel cases.
Yes.
They stole blank jewel cases?
Yes.
They can come here to GFW because we got like 8,000 of those.
I don't know
They can
what they
have
were
'em.
doing. Maybe they were. I really have no idea. It was just creepy.
Apparently, it was all to protect Sean.
That dude's protecting Sean to this day. The dude's standing outside Sean's apartment
Watching
to
over
protect you.
When there was only one set of footprints, Sean. I never had any games stolen, and I'm not really proud of this. But a long time ago, in like a bookstore, I really wanted the Epix Fast Load cartridge for my Commodore 64,
Uh-huh.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it was just sitting in a big bin of games. It was like, I don't know, it was like $20. And I just stood there for a while, looked around. The store was really busy. I stood there for a while, had my bag ready. I kept checking, like, these old stores had mirrors in the corners, like
Right.
the wraparound mirrors. I'm like, there's probably cameras behind those. So I kind of had my back to him, and finally I dropped it in my bag, and I was there with my friend Mike, who had a motorcycle, and he was like, I said, Mike, I got it. Let's go. So we bolted out of the bookstore, across the mall, through this we had this mall all figured out, and we went through there was kind of a Rite Aid there. We went through their back door where his motorcycle was, and man, I was so sure that mall security was right behind me, and we just hopped on his motorcycle and got the hell out of there.
How old
You got
were
away?
Yeah.
How
Was it
old were
worth
you?
it?
I was early teens.
Okay.
I was actually caught shoplifting about a month later, so that was kind of the end of my
Dude, that's
crime
your
spree.
career.
Wow. So have you ever admitted the story before in public? This whole crime spree of yours?
We're
I don't
podcasting,
think
by the
so.
way.
Yeah, I think the statute of limitations is probably expired on stealing an
On
Epix
your-
Fast Load cartridge.
That was a.
It was ill-gotten. It was
yeah.
well enjoyed, ill-gotten gains, though.
I did that too.
Yeah?
I shoplifted. I stole a Kansas record. Yeah.
Dude, okay.
So the joke was on me because I took it home and I had to listen to Kansas. So.
Carry on,
Dust
my
in the
wayward
wind.
son.
Fuck! I stole this.
I got
But,
caught and had to go to juvenile hall for stealing 2
Really?
cassette tapes.
Well,
in high
now we can
school.
see the common thread amongst gaming editors.
Here's this story. You got to listen to yours, but mine, it was at Tower Records, and I went with this kid who, it was the same brothers, Jason and Shane. I talked to you a little bit about them before, about one of them's shitty underpants we found behind
Oh,
his
that
drawer.
guy.
So that guy.
That
He's now a
classic
podcast
character.
legend.
So
Yeah.
when we got busted and they drag us back into security, the guy's like, "Well, let's see what you kids have." And he pulled out for me. He's like, "Sonic Youth Goo, Happy
That's a good
Mondays Bummer." He's like, "That describes the state you're in now, huh?"
Did he say that?
Yeah, and then he's like,
That's
he pulls
awesome.
out my friends. He's like,
What a
"What's
fucked
this?"
up cop thing to say.
And then he pulls. No, this was like the guy that worked there.
Okay.
And then he pulls up my friends. He's like, "Sepultura." He's like, "Dude, he's like, you're getting arrested for stealing this shit." He was like totally clowning on him. And then, but his dad was there to come pick him up, so he didn't have to go anywhere. And my parents were away for the weekend, so I got to go to I got to go to JV and kick it.
Did you do the thing I think everyone who gets caught does? It's like, I'll pay for it. I got the money. I'll pay for it right now. And they're
No,
always like,
I didn't do that with the
crying about,
with the
dude, my
Kansas
dad's
album.
going to kill me.
Oh, yeah. I was pretty...
I didn't do it with the Kansas album because it wasn't worth the $3.99 that records cost back then.
How do you steal a
It
record?
wasn't worth it in the first place.
You go in. Actually, let me preface this with kids don't actually do this. Right.
Needless to say,
I learned my lesson. Crime doesn't pay.
idiotic stuff.
But what we did though was we brought in a bag from that store from records we had actually bought in the past. So we were holding a bag from Music Plus, which was the name of the store, with records in it, and then we just slipped the new one in the bag.
You just got the 2-for-1 deal.
Basically, yeah. We didn't get caught though. I mean, we took it home and then had a Kansas record. So
Lesson learned.
lesson learned right there. Crime doesn't pay. Take it off.
They saw you on the cameras. They're like, let him go.
Before
He'll figure it out.
before we end this topic, this is even worse than stealing. Went to it's one of those stores where it's not quite a thrift store, but it's like liquidated stuff. You know, like they have grocery outlet and it's the grocery version, call it gross out, but they have one for like other non-perishables thing. And we went there and we're changing the stickers. So it's like, you know, you just put, which is the same as stealing, of course, but it's like we just put like a sticker, it's like 15 cents on all this stuff. And the part of the thing there is that the clerks were special needs, might be a politic way of saying
Be
it.
nice. Yeah.
Yeah. And so as we're going through the counter, the person I'm with is just like, they're just like, oh man, it's so cheap here. I love it. And the clerk was like, yeah, it's so cheap. And we're just like, it's so cheap. It's almost like stealing.
Oh, man.
Oh, man.
You can't you're stealing and mocking the people you're stealing from.
How do you feel about that?
I don't feel good. I feel bad.
What did karma do to him later?
Yeah, really. I think we all need to go do some volunteer work when this podcast is over.
Yeah.
Deal.
I have one more record store thing that doesn't involve stealing, but it involves getting, it involves getting made fun of by the clerk, which is, I had this friend, and he was super into Kiss. At the time, Kiss was, you know, they hadn't ever taken their makeup off yet.
Right.
Now that we all know what they look like, and they're all old anyway. But at the time, they were cool, and they were the guys in the mass. And so my friend was in the Kiss Army, which he had to like mail away for, and he got a little sticker and all that stuff. I wasn't in the Kiss Army because I didn't like Kiss, but he was. And the new Kiss album was going to come out any day now. It was Love Gun was the name of the record. And my friend was just dying for Love Gun to come out. And, you know, and so we went into the record store after school one day, and, you know, it was back pre-internet, you know, you didn't know when shit was coming out, whatever. So he goes up to the clerk and he says, hey, can you tell me when Love Gun's coming out? And the clerk goes, who gives a shit? That's the whole story. I never forgot it because I just laughed in my friend's face like, oh, yeah. The guy who's going to make money off it doesn't even care. That's how lame your band is.
His Gene Simmons tongue will stab you twat for a bag of pot.
Have we talked about games yet?
I just wanted to make you feel comfortable.
Yeah, that was
roundabout.
They've been orbiting our conversation.
We've been orbiting games.
Dreamcast and Epic's Fast Food cartridge were mentioned.
Right.
Have you guys given up on Team Fortress 2? Crispin, are you playing it at all?
It was pretty fucked up on the 360 for a while. They just fixed it last weekend, but I haven't played it since. I'm actually playing back through Episode 2, and a lot of guys on EGM are playing through Half-Life 2 for the first time.
Oh, wow.
And the same complaint I keep hearing is it just starts so slow.
Right.
Which
Yeah.
I guess it did. I don't really remember. It actually spawned a feature idea that I want to do about like that first half hour of a game. Like there are other games that started slow and get better, like on the consoles, like Resistance Fall.
I guess I can see that, especially if you're coming from a console background and you didn't play Half-Life 1, that maybe that, you know, where we were all giving it the benefit of the doubt because we knew Valve and we knew Half-Life 1.
Right.
You know, I think we were probably more patient because we knew what was coming.
Well, yeah,
and
so
I guess if you have no
it was
clue.
desolate stretches.
Well, I even told them, like, Brian, who's our previews editor, he's finally got to a part where it's getting good and he's really liking it. But Michael, our news editor, is still like, it's so slow. And I'm like, you know what?
But dude, that's Donahoe you're talking about.
Yeah, but I just told him to skip to episode 2 because he's not really up on the story anyways.
Yeah,
and episode 2 is so good throughout.
Right, episode 2, to me, is my favorite of all the Half-Lives.
Yeah.
It depends on what they're talking about by slow. Like, I think that the boat ride was like way overly long and slow. But if you're talking about when you first come in and you get off the train and you're in the train station, the interrogation room scene, your first look at the city square and, the Orwellian broadcasting system, guys being beaten down, your first trip through the tenements. These are all very, sure, you're not, blasting the shit out of anything.
Yeah.
And the pacing is toned down, but those are, completely incredible moments of that game.
But if you
so
don't,
if they're talking about that, which I'm
ride.
inclined to think that Donahoe is probably very much means that.
Well, do you know how
different
far
than,
he is? Do you know what he's talking about, complaining about as being slow?
He hasn't even gotten to the swamp buggy part yet, so it's...
So he doesn't even know from slow. You think that's boring? You just wait, Donahoe. That's what we're all about here in PC gaming.
Yeah.
But I mean, so much about games,
No, it's pacing.
I mean, even console games, games in general are built to deliver a bigger and more rewarding experience as you go along. It's kind of like what's around the next corner, what's the next level.
Yeah.
So it's I don't think it's anything unique that like Half-Life start out. So I think I don't really remember thinking it started out slow. So and then
it's such payout. It's it establishes. I mean, I'm defending it, but because I'm very passionately supportive of the approach they took for the beginning of that, and that's that you start the game. The first thing you see is the Citadel, and you're going to see that it's going to frame your experience the entire time you play the game, and you're ultimately going to end up there. Something very, very few games ever do.
Yeah, BioShock did it too, with introducing you to Rapture and starting to introduce you to these powers that only.
Right. Yep. And in that, and then here's the tone, here's the world that you're inhabiting, and it's and because you just appeared in it, your character in the same fashion that as the player you just appeared in it. Again, like in BioShock, where this is your introduction to this world. It's establishing the scene and all the stuff, and it is so much fun to look at. I mean, when someone, in the interaction when one of the Metro Police says, "Hey," knocks a can off the trash and says, "Pick that up and throw it in there."
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and even that moment where you're like, I'm someone's bitch. I just started this game and I'm someone's bitch. How many other shooters do that? And they even care where instead of you come in, you blow heads off, and you come out blowing heads off. I mean, there are actual changes in your level of empowerment, and of course it flips it, and at the end you're ultimately empowered. And then a lot of people complain about that too. The last level is so easy. It's supposed to be a boss. It takes 2 hours of play.
Well, but that seems like the concept of boss is almost going away in a lot of games, because it'll just be a culmination of all the gameplay that you've learned throughout the game coming together and a challenge to solve. Mm-hmm. But I mean, no one on EGM is giving up on the game. I just think. And I know you guys have talked about these games to death, and you talked about Halo to death, but I think I just recently beat Halo 3, and by the end of it, I was so sick of fighting the Flood, which I think that was turning me off to the game.
I think what might be the problem with some people in Half-Life 2's beginning is that they don't realize that when you get to Ravenholm or something, you're suddenly in a very different game.
Right.
And there's all these turns where you're just and now we're going to do something completely different with the FPS genre. And maybe they think the whole game's going to be what they're experiencing in that first however many hours that is.
Right. I mean, Valve never does the thing. I can't even think in episode 1 or 2 they do it either, of starting you off in the middle of action. Mm-hmm. They ramp it up. Some games do. Right? They put you into the middle of a fight right away and then ramp it down. Just classic storytelling technique. But I don't think Half-Life has ever done that, have they?
No, it's always been a gradual
build.
Yeah.
With the exception of episode 1 does in the sense that it's kind of like the place is going to blow. It's kind of like the equivalent of starting Metroid when the timer's running, except there's no timer.
Right. But that's the thing, is more on the consoles again, but role-playing games, especially Japanese role-playing games, just start so slow. Yeah. And that's the thing that's kind of turned me off more and more to that genre now that I don't get just one game a year. But the fact, there was a game, Blue Dragon, that came out for the 360 from the guy who made Final Fantasy, had the most boring, first half hour. And then there was another highly critical hit, Okami, that had a wolf and it had this cool watercolor. That was first half hour was tutorials. So and then it gets good. And it's these games that just start.
Well, that game was interesting because it was so unusual too. I mean, they almost had to teach you how to play that in Okami.
Yeah. But then it's you sit there and you watch text scroll for so long.
Yeah, that was
text scroll is never a good thing.
No.
How you start and end them is very important, and just all the other mediums.
Well, Ryan lent me Metal Gear Solid 1 for the first time, and I have to say, Metal Gear Solid Virgin. I've totally missed the series. So you gave me the Nintendo, the GameCube edition, right?
Mm-hmm. And you're having the same problem that I had.
I can't get out of the first fucking room. I feel like a complete loser because I can't. Because you get thrown into this and I'm sure many people listening to the podcast, probably all you guys around the table here have played them, but I haven't.
Mm-hmm.
So, you're just put into this room with like a few enemies, and there is no tutorial at all on the stealth mechanic. And all you have to do is get from one end of the room to the other where the elevator is.
Right.
And for the life of me, I can't do it without dying. I've started. And Ryan, you told me not to feel too bad about this, right?
Well, right. I mean, it's like they introduce you to so many different. You got to know not to use your gun. You got to know how to sneak up behind the guys and choke them. You got to know how to like tap on stuff to get their attention
and to read the interface.
And none of this.
The radar.
And there's no moment in the game that we're used to now where they walk you through it. They baby you through it.
Yeah, and that's a series too that started off like that, but was enormously successful and popular, but only got more and more complicated and convoluted to the point where you're holding the controller like Gilbert's grape or whatever. That's like trying to push all these buttons just to look down the barrel of your machine gun and shoot. And that's one thing they're doing with the new Metal Gear Solid is they're taking it way back and making it more,
So you don't got to like do 5 different steps to get rid of a bullet anymore?
You might. So that's what I haven't actually played it, but the guys on my staff.
I actually, even though I was sucking at it, I kind of it's not that I admired it, but it made me think like, wow, this is definitely a change in game design. That in the old days they threw you in and you didn't get your half an hour. Now let's see if you can duck.
Yeah.
Congratulations, soldier, you ducked.
Yeah.
Now they just in those days you're just good luck to you, man. Here's the game.
Right.
And you were trying to use your gun, right? You were trying to shoot them.
Yeah, I was just because guys were attacking me, so I shot them.
And then you're fucked if you rented the game from Blockbuster because they didn't have the instructions. They would have the instruction card printed on the back.
Yeah,
it was like it was written in who knows where.
It had a few pro tips on it.
Yeah. The Argyle army has invaded. They just make up their own story.
Speaking of pro tips, the reason that I brought up Team Fortress is because a lot of people have been. I want to see if you guys are still playing it all because a lot of people have been asking for more
tips.
Yeah,
they want those pro tips.
Well, EGM's going to start a team, so we need pro tips.
Okay. One thing to know.
Play the PC
is
version.
Increasingly. I'm having
number one.
I'm having this thing where everyone is like now. I have to bring them up. So people that play the GFW Radio drinking game, get ready to empty your glass. When I play the game with Rory, he gets upset increasingly, and I'm like, he wants to go play, opposing fronts or something. And I started figuring out what's wrong is that normally we're really competitive about who's got the higher score, even if it's on our own team, And the banana riders, which is, the phenomena of like medics that are eager to please, are giving me a serious advantage over him.
Don't diss the medics, man.
No, I love them. Here's the thing. Here's my newfound appreciation of them. But the medics are. This is just me. So I say rude things and just don't take it the wrong way. But like they're the prison yard bitches of Team Fortress. And here's why.
Some of us like being prison yard
something.
bitches.
No, and it's wonderful because we're all in that prison, right? But they're like you want to curry their favor. You're like, I got a pack of smokes for you, dude. And like, or I'll protect you. I'll make sure that like when Juarez comes through tonight. He's not going to jack you. He won't hit you with the rocket. I'm going to protect you, and I'm going to give you a pack of smokes, right? And you're going to, like, follow me around everywhere and, like, heal me up. So the thing is you fight for their favor. Say there's only 2 medics on your team. You want to be, if you want to go for, the high score and be, the superstar of your team and capture the points and break their defenses down or stop them on their offense, it's like, if you have a medic with you, you're so set. But then when... I think Rory's getting jealous basically because he doesn't have his own banana rider.
He needs to step up his incentive.
Because there'll be cases where like my score will be like 100 and something, and then the next highest up will be like 60, and it'll be like, and it's just because, and that is part. It's not just like you don't just latch a medic on to anyone. Like you have to know how to work with the prison bitch, but you, but then you get like, but if you know how to play well together, then the benefits are there. But anyway, so I got to thank this guy Diplomat. I wanted to give him a shout out because he's not a banana rider. He's just a really good player and he can play medic well and is like cool enough to do it. But so I gave some like class specific things before, but I think now as people have been playing a lot more, there's just kind of some general interesting points. One, a few exploit things that, and someone wrote in asking to talk about this too. Like if you want points and you're an engineer, you're in a circumstance where your turret, your sentry's not shooting guys down every other second, build teleporters next to one another, because we found out that every teleportation event will earn you half a point. So 2 of them, you get a full point. So you put them there, and when in between, when nothing's going on, you just keep going over and over in your teleporter. Come out one side, out the other, and it recharges, and you just keep doing that, you know. People that are really dumb and they want to just get, you know how every time you load a map, it gives you your ranking, your top scores? Mm-hmm. Well, you get a friend into a server as a spy, and you're an engineer, and each map has a location. Not every map, but some maps have these locations that are not very heavily traveled. And what you do is you go there as an engineer, build your sentry, have the spy come in, sap it, put the sapper on it, you hit the wrench, knock it off, repeat over and over and over again. And you just watch your score climb, and then you can go away, and it says, you know, your top score playing engineers, whatever, 100 and something. But more more general things would be like, rather than looking at just like you do want to know the best way to play each class, but something more important, I think, is like the metagame involved, and that's looking at the course of the game and saying, given these circumstances, it would probably be wise for me to switch classes. So say you go in as a soldier and you see a super sentry gun, heavy defense. And you don't sit like, you know, I don't say, hey, let's go be a spy, because you're never, unless the engineers are completely idiotic, you're not going to go and blow up all those. Mm-hmm. So instead I'll go to demo man, and where I can find some angle of approach where I'm covered and I can throw pipe bombs in and I can blow everything up all at once. Mm-hmm. So as soon as I do that, maybe they all switch to soldiers. Mm-hmm. So then I'll think, you know, and switch to some other class. But it's kind of like, you can only give the general advice is to like always be aware of like when the circumstances would favor one class over another. That seems, and the makeups are always changing on each team.
I mean, that to me seems like one of the more obvious.
It is, things. But everyone.
I understand that not everybody does. But like when I join a server, the first thing I do is hit tab and I see what the makeups are, and just see where there's a hole on my own team, mm-hmm. and see what would make most sense against what's there.
Right.
That just seems.
I mean, specifically how they're fielding it too, how they're fielding those assets. Like, but that is rad though, because a lot of times people will join in and it won't say, and it'll be like, what if there's like 6 heavy weapons guys?
Well, that's what I notice on a lot of servers, you know, and the games usually suck. Is that clearly there's been no discussion at all, or even awareness if people aren't talking over what's missing here.
Yeah.
You know, wow, there's 8 spies, really?
That's what makes the map 2 Fort is kind of like the most loved and also the most hated map. And because it seems to a lot of people like it's just deathmatch fort or stalemate fort or something. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But if you play as a team, it's so rewarding because it's like just the right mix where it takes some serious effort to get the flag. It takes significant effort to defend it. And you have to constantly like be changing your makeups, working together. You can't just spawn in a trickle where, say, I get killed, I spawn, run out my door, and run to their base again. Meanwhile, 10 seconds later, someone else will do the same. And I mean, you really have to like coordinate and communicate on that, and it's a lot of fun to play. So yeah, those are a few things. Some other interesting things are like when immediately on attack and defend map, when a medic combo comes out of the gate, and they're going to be uber charged if they're smart. You know, they basically inflict damage on themselves inside their spawn area so that they can get the uber charge built up before the gates open. And when they come out, a lot of people. Well, there's 2 wasteful things. A lot of times people just keep shooting at an Ubered enemy with the old nerd's tale that if you hit them enough, you'll reduce the duration of the Uber. But that's not true. The times that it does make sense to hit them, though, is if you're a soldier or if you're a demo man and you have pipe bombs. What happens is that you could still fling them and throw them. Oh. So you throw a bunch of pipe bombs in the ground. They come out the gate, right?
They're invulnerable to damage, though.
They are. But what happens is sometimes you could throw the guy so far away from the medic that you break their beam. And then the Uber goes away. Because you've thrown them so far apart or something like that.
That's smart.
So there's a lot of stuff like that people are starting to pick up on.
By the way, let's point out that, once again, Sean Elliott's wearing a Team Fortress 2 shirt.
Oh, shit.
Oh, I was wondering what that was.
Yeah.
It's very subtle.
Not coincidentally discussing the game on our podcast. Little kickback from Valve this week.
We do have
wear the shirt. Talk about the game,
and we got the 1UP server too. It's not hosted by 1UP, but someone made it the 1UP server.
Oh, really?
And we all go on there and play, and it's cool. I think they're gonna give me some admin privileges.
So how many?
My first act will be to ban everyone else that gave me the privileges. No.
So you have 3 of these shirts now. 3.
Why do you make me feel so uncomfortable right now, man?
So was it like today? Oh, it's Thursday. It's Soldier Day.
It's Soldier Day, yeah. Tomorrow's Heavy Weapons Day. Yeah,
how fast?
But you know how you said that it's self-evident, though. I mean, like that you should mix classes,
right?
But my evidence for the fact that it's not is when everyone says, "What class do you play?" Which assumes that you just do one, and it's like, say, it's like Tekken or something, and you play Kuma, and you're a Kuma dude.
Well, I have the default. Like to me, it's a default. Like now, I'm just prison bitch, I guess. I mean, I like medic. So when I go on to play, I'm saying to myself, I'm going to play medic, but I'll press tab, and if there's 3 medics on the team already, I'll go, well, okay, not this time. Yeah, I'll just go do something else.
If you're doing it well, though, that is maybe the one class that you can't. If you're paired up, like say if you have 3 pairings of medics and a demo, soldier, or heavy, like that's I mean, it's almost like a demo and a soldier is almost better than 2 soldiers, depending on the circumstance, whether it's offense or defense.
Well, now, when you say play a medic well, like what's the difference between playing a medic well and playing a medic poorly? Like, I mean,
there's like the entry level thing, and that's when you first start off spawning, and you see a medic immediately turn his hose to a heavy weapons guy and stand there. Meanwhile, all the soldiers are standing in front of the resupply boxes, screaming for medics. And the reason they're over there is because they don't have to reload their rockets. When you shoot 4 rockets and you're in front of there, it automatically just puts you back up to 4. So what happens? You just hold fire down, stand in front of it.
Oh, my God.
And you splash damage yourself so much, and the medic keeps you alive, and it fills up his Uber far before the gates even open. Mm-hmm. So if you see that, I mean, that's the base level. That means ignore that medic. That means that medic does not exist in your mind. There might be a random chance that he will turn and maybe help you in some capacity, but otherwise he just is just like... Yeah, he's like a spray tag on the wall or something, you know. Someone hit T and a medic came out. But then the good ones will know, of course. I mean, there's a good banana rider and then there's a good general medic, and I got to be careful to like differentiate them because I don't want to be like the good medic's the one who follows me around wherever I go and does whatever I tell him he needs to do. But no, it's like, but they are good. They see where the guy's going. They keep the thing connected, but they also know that if there's other guy around him and they're going in for offense, and it's like, hey, we have another soldier here. He's got 20 health. Just by turning to him for a second and healing him up again, we now have 2 soldiers going in on this offense plus me, as opposed to, well, screw him. I'm not going to stop charging this one guy and we'll just let him die. And there was a huge waste. You could have had an overhealed soldier, which means, 300 health going with you. So basically just being aware and also knowing that they can fight. Immediately knowing, I mean, because the bone saw is excellent melee, the hypodermic gun is great. Mm-hmm. Knowing when, so if you're healing someone and you know there's a spy coming behind you, instead of just screaming spy, 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 switch to your bone saw, turn around, stop healing, turn around and hit him before he can get you, or shoot him and then go back. I mean, so like, a really good one, like I was saying, the diplomat guy is like, he's self-sufficient at the same time. And then the last thing would be, in a spawn waves, instead of just running out as a medic and saying, well, maybe I'll find someone, and you find someone that you are working well with, that you can rely on, because there's other thing. It's not all about it's not just what the medic can do for you, but like I said, in the prison analogy, it's what you could do for the medic in return. So the pack of cigarettes that you give him is basically turning around and spy checking for him and stuff too. You don't just run around blindly to what's going behind you, because a medic with his healing gun out is a huge target for a spy. Because he's almost guaranteed to be just like dope, walking along, with this doing his thing. So just constantly looking, making sure that pyros aren't jumping down behind him and coming after you guys and stuff. And then so what happens is when you find a good mate, then you wait at the spawn for them. They get killed or something. You like wait or just say where you're at and where you can meet up.
Mm-hmm. Have a quiet ceremony in Honolulu.
Yeah. Oh. Shit. Hey.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
What? I got nothing.
Okay.
I was just checking the time.
Yeah, I would say we gotta hear the web, but
we got to hear the web, and I got this private message I was going to read.
Oh yeah. That's time for that.
Hit
That's
that guy.
Great time.
Let's do that.
All right.
That is the right time.
This kind of relates back to Sean's surreal dream earlier. Not dream. But I was thinking about this guy during your whole tale.
My friend waking up and having the guy there.
Right. Well, this showed up in my 1UP inbox a few days ago. The subject was Shroom with me, 5 O's.
The message is, Dear Jeffrey Green, I currently have 7 mature water bottle cultures of psilocybe semilanciata, I believe you say, a.k.a. Liberty Caps. Is it okay if I send you guys at GFW 3/8 of them? The package would be to Ziff Davis Media, Jeff Green. I'll look it up in the mag. That's great. Thanks, fella. That won't get me fired. By the way, I love the November issue. Right in the middle of the drug. By the way, I love the November issue.
That's his way of saying thanks.
Yeah, issue was spelled ISHU, by the way, issue. It won't have my address, and you can all trip balls and do a special podcast.
And you just listen to it.
Please, Jeff, I'm begging you to let me send you psychotropic drugs. Yeah, you just listen to it.
He has since PM'd me many times, too, saying how serious he is, and he, in particular, wants Ryan to trip balls. Because he wants to hear Ryan go on a quote-unquote epic Guild Wars rant. He's like, you would get Ryan talking, I guarantee it.
I don't need to be high to do a Guild Wars rant.
Wow.
And, then after that, I think, like, he could tell you weren't accepting his offer. He's like, could you tell Jeff I can send him some marijuana? At least? Like,
why would I want that? I told him, thank you. That's very generous of you. As an employee of Ziff Davis Media, I'm afraid I have to say no. Thank you for the offer of the illegal drugs you could sent to my workplace.
You could have given him the address, but just have it be like San Francisco Police Department and just say CC Jeff Green.
Right.
Well, actually, you wouldn't want your name on it.
Probably not. Yeah.
Sorry.
Care of Games for Windows Mag. Yeah. So obviously I'm not going to say his name on the air.
Why not?
Okay, actually.
No, don't say his name.
No, I'm just kidding. I won't.
He's just trying to hook you up. More importantly, he's trying to hook Ryan up.
Yeah.
The problem is we can't, mushrooms, we can't have a 6-hour podcast. Maybe we could. We could describe our moods as the hours pass.
We could send
You'd
him.
have one listener. You'd have that guy.
Yeah, he'd be with us the whole way.
We could send him to Enchanted Toast, who's this week's hero of the web.
Okay.
Enchanted Toast is a stupid name. I don't know. So hero of the web, if you're a new listener, is just basically something of vital importance we find on the internet, something that someone posted in a message board forum or something. So Enchanted Toast says, a few days ago, I made a thread on the official Nintendo forums that I was in love with Marin from Link's Awakening. I said the reason I was in love with her was because of her personality, her appearance, her dreams, and everything else. I've been in love with her since childhood when I had my Game Boy. Marin was a girl on an island with no powers, just words of serene and wanting to fulfill her dream. The story and everything touched my heart. Now I did whoever told everyone that I understand that Marin was not real, but I actually found out that emotions telling me I was in love with the real Marin that was really out there. In other words, we feel that Miyamoto knew these Zelda characters when he drew them from certain people. A lot of people were touched by my message and said we should go on a search for Miyamoto to find the true answer to our romances.
Oh, God.
In other words, we want to ask Miyamoto Dono where the real Zelda people were that he got his ideas from. We feel Miyamoto Dono really knew people named Zelda, Marin, Malone, Link, etc. and our personalities and have put them into the game.
Oh, my God.
We're going to form a search party for Miyamoto because these questions we have been wanting to know them all of our lives. Sometimes we even cited when we were in love with the characters in game and we knew we would never meet them. I cried. However, I feel that we can find them. I tried to get everyone to come with me on this search, but we were still discussing the situation when the topic reached 390 posts. NOA staff deleted it. We don't know why, but it happened. So I found this site, And I'm, oh shit, NOA's Nintendo of America. It took me a minute. So I found this site, and I'm hoping that this site is the same site, searching for the dreams and the answers to the Zelda characters with whom we are in love. I have loved so much for Marin that I sometimes shed tears over her. I know you guys think I might be weird, or even crazy for loving a game character, but I am not. You see, it is our emotion that we are trying to reach out to a certain person we love. We can't help it if we are touched by the character's personality, looks, and so on, etc. So I'm just posting here if anyone has suggestions to our situation. I actually have a lot of people that want to come with me and find Miyamoto so he can answer these questions. Our love is really strong for this journey, so much that we don't want to put it aside. Finally, I am asking the Nintendo of America staff if they could please revive the thread and give me access to the thread so that I can document the pages, as lots and lots of work was deleted.
Can you imagine being Miyamoto and like opening the door to that pilgrimage?
That would look good.
It's like a modern Canterbury Tales.
Tried to find... Isn't there something like that where someone's looking for the real such and such?
They're not even looking. They're looking for the guy who created them
To tell them
out
who
the
he
real one
based
was.
I will tell you now, I am the real Tingle.
You want to be saying that? You want this parade knocking on your door?
How fucked up is that? That'd be like, I don't know, like knocking on J.J. Abrams' house and saying, who's the real,
But don't even say...
Locke? Who's the real
Not
Locke?
even
I know
Locke.
there's a real one.
But there's a character that played Locke that at least is a person, so there's a connection
you're
there.
right.
So,
Yeah,
like,
that's
it would
true.
be more like...
She was
Who
basing,
who
this person was basing
inspired-
it on a Game Boy character.
Yeah, the Game Boy Link thing. So we got... There's
I
gotta
like
be
that
a
the
good
whole thing is just like about
analogy.
how it's all based on, that he's in love with, it's the personality that must have come from a real person, but then he slips in at the end there.
The looks.
The looks.
He slid-
Actually, she's kind of cute.
He's going to be so disappointed. What the hell?
What if the real Marin's like a 65-year-old guy? Then what's he going to do?
That would be the true test.
Then he would do it. This
You
is
see
all
how strong his love is.
No, isn't... What was this? Is this sort of shades of being John Malkovich? Maybe? Possibly?
You're
been a
giving him
while.
a lot of
So,
credit
yeah,
there.
It's been a while.
Shades of insanity.
Yeah, we should give that... Who's that writer who wrote that? And...
Spike, no, he was the director.
He was the
Spike
director.
Jones was a director. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so this sounds like a work that he could take
Could
on.
adapt this.
Yeah,
It could make a great movie. Yeah.
I'll play
man.
Enchanted Toast for you if you wanna call me. You could PM me on oneup.com. Just my agent.
Sweaty, pale, overweight guys traveling Japan. I would so
In
watch that
search
movie.
of the real
I guess
man.
his adaptation was kind of like that.
Adaptation, yeah, that's why. I mean, everything he does has
Yeah,
got some
got
sort
that
of.
element.
Didn't he also do what was the other one with Jim Carrey?
Oh,
was also good.
Eternal.
Sunshine of
yeah.
the Spotless.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
He did.
You're good. I like those.
Are we done here?
I don't know.
I saw
We
a
don't
group of
have to-
people
let's-
gathering, but then they walked away.
Yeah, we sent him off.
We're
so
at our limit.
Let's keep going.
We're at our
So we
limit.
could just keep gabbing until
We'll keep gabbing until they throw us out.
Yeah.
We're rebels that way.
What the hell are we going to gab about, though?
So yeah, we could talk about what we're playing. That's always a good thing to fall back on. We just talk about that shit all day. Or
I was going to tell one back on the mushrooms thing.
let's do it. Yeah, that sounds good.
It's got nothing to do with me because I'm against all sorts of illegal substances. I've campaigned actively against them.
With in the Reagan administration.
Exactly. Yeah,
Nancy.
I'm one of the mothers against drunk driving.
It was also your idea to put in the box of Ferrara pan candies on when you open the flap, the say no to drugs.
Actually,
Say ugh to drugs. and
Just say no was me. I gave that to
That's
Nancy
you.
Reagan.
Oh.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
I gave
What
it
about
the
that
slogan.
Different Strokes episode with Nancy Reagan? Was that?
I wrote that. I don't know why I'm telling the story. It's my first encounter with anybody on mushrooms. I actually was totally stone cold sober. I was at my dorm room in UC Berkeley. God's honest truth, I was sober. I was actually studying that night, and a friend of mine, this will age me, was at the Jethro Tull concert at the Oakland Coliseum. And he was on mushrooms, and I knew he had taken them to go to the show. And he came back from the show, and I ran into him in the hallway, and I was like holding my math book or whatever dweeby thing I was working on. And I said, "Hey, how was the Jethro Tull concert?" And he looked at me, and then he looked at the wall, and he kept looking at the wall for about 1 minute, which is a long time to be looking at the wall and not saying anything. And then he just kept looking at the wall, not saying anything. And I just said, "I'll see you tomorrow, okay?" Because I think after I asked him that question, he was kind of back at Jethro Tull at that moment.
I'm glad you asked. Let me show you.
Right. He was letting me know in his mind.
That's pretty harmless.
He opened with Aqualung.
Yeah,
You had to lick his sweat, and you would have.
And then I would have had the whole concert.
At least he wasn't like trying to break down shit for you, like, "Jeff, have you ever thought about infinite space?" And you're like, "Yeah." And then he goes, "It just keeps going, and going, and going." There's stories like, the abbreviated version, but instances where someone was cranked out enough so that they having a party at their own house, and they start thinking, this isn't Tony though, I talked about him before, he was a meth addict, but they have a party at their house, and they,
Is this the same guy with the dirty underwear, or is this
another one who suddenly becomes convinced that they're people in the walls, and so gets a hatchet and right in the middle of his own party in his own house starts chopping up that wall to find them people.
Whoa.
And now he's searching for Marin.
And everyone goes running away, and that party's over just like that.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a party killer.
Nothing like that, yeah.
I saw a bunch of older people. Well, because I went to a Led Zeppelin tribute band concert a couple weekends ago, like in some small town, and it was all the locals, and they were all, fairly old, but they were all tripping balls. And there was like this, it was weird. It was like seeing, almost like your grandpa just wandering around. There was one old guy, he looked more like Cliff Clavin, except an older Cliff Clavin. He just kept like barreling through the crowd and just like, what the fuck, dude? I felt like I was about ready to have to throw down with Cliff Clavin because he kept
Who's
like
Cliff Clavin?
Cheers. From Cheers, man. You don't get any of the TV references. You got to rent some DVDs and get hip with the pop culture.
Okay.
But eventually the old bouncer took out the old Cliff Clavin, like young concert style. Like basically came up, grabbed him, and dragged him out.
Wow.
And it was
he was trying to mosh or something to like.
He was
Led Zeppelin
he was
cover?
also like basically I think just trying to cop feels on all the ladies.
Check.
Well, the thing is, your older rock and rollers are getting older now. Yeah, but they're still rock and rolling, and I'm talking about myself.
Yeah, I was about to say.
But I was last Thursday. I went to the Bruce Springsteen concert at the Oakland Coliseum, and you can go ahead and mock Bruce Springsteen, but in his day he was.
You don't talk shit on the boss.
He was cool in his day. He's still the boss, okay. And it was a great concert. But what I noticed was, the section we were sitting in. First of all, the seats cost like $100 a piece. So, that's not a very rock and roll sort of thing, And basically everybody in our section is like dockers wearing like fucking, practically everybody in the section I was in at some point during the show was texting. Like, texting
concert?
to their babysitter or whateper. People are,
You won't believe where I'm at right now.
Yeah, but not in a kid way. It was like an adult way. I mean, it was all people like my age and older. And it felt very kind of like, oh man,
just
and watching everybody dance, which they probably look like the way I was. It was like, oh, this is just so depressing. Yeah,
that happens.
I was born to run. But the thing I noticed, the thing that really blew me away about this concert was I'd actually been at the Oakland Coliseum 27 years ago to see the same guy, to see Springsteen. I remember how awesome that was. It was 4 hours long, blah 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 blah. But at the end of the night, when the Bruce leaves the staging and waiting for the encores. I don't know when the last time you guys have been to a big time rock concert was. The end of the night, the lighter thing. People don't do lighters anymore. You know what it is now?
Did you try to bring that back?
Fucking cell phones.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Everybody holds up their cell phone, and the
that.
lights of the cell phones are going around the Coliseum.
That made me very sad the first time.
Yeah.
And also, like, you ever get a call from some buffoon, and you pick up the phone?
Guess where I am?
And it's like, hey, you just text back, fuck you.
But I did notice the cell phone light bummed me out, but I did notice the aroma of marijuana wafting up through the old folks crowd. And I saw people down in the floor, all the old people kind of dancing away, and I felt like, okay,
Yeah.
all right, we can still do this.
It's weird, though. Even just at the party that Crispin was talking about with the Halloween costumes, there were some people various points of the night out here talking about the new Radiohead album. And I think it's a great album, but it really put it in perspective. I was like, man, it reminds me of, 10 years ago when you hear the 30-somethings and they're just talking about, oh, that Pink Floyd, they got a new album out, or you got to hear the new Moody Blues. And it's like,
Yeah. Well, my big problem
shit, we're already there.
Yeah, it's on the old
we're already there.
station now. Now you know how I feel. What I can't stand about this particular floor where there's lots of you young folk here with your new video game jobs is I'll be sitting in my office playing something like Nirvana, and one of these fucking editors, like, whatever, Donahoe or whatever, he actually didn't do it, but, that age bracket will come by and go, wow, you listen to Nirvana? That's so cool. And I'm like, shit, motherfucker, they're my age. Fuck you.
That's Waja.
Wow, you don't listen to Guy Lombardo? Whatever. Ugh. That's way off topic.
Yeah.
We're so drifting away from anything relevant to anything.
Oh, I got one thing that
Okay.
I could bring up,
Yeah.
and we could shut it down if it's not going anywhere. But
All
there's
right.
this new trend with console games. I don't know what's happening with PC games in terms of like reviewing games, reviewers' guides.
Oh,
It started
yeah.
with Lair. It's any game that's like not pick up and play, or where they can anticipate that people are having difficulty.
In some cases, it's every game, depending on the publisher.
We just got one with Tabula Rasa. We got a reviewer's guide.
Mm.
Yeah.
Medal of Honor Airborne came with one. Call of
Very-
Duty comes
really?
with one.
What do you think about that, Crispin?
Well, I don't want to read them. I don't want to read them until like I'm done with the game. I mean, I didn't actually have it for Lair when I played Lair. I had a lot of problems with Lair. This is a PS3 dragon riding game that relied solely on motion control, and the dragon just like did not listen to me, and it ended up being like actually I think a lot of people had the same experience. And now there's one with Assassin's Creed. Assassin's Creed takes it a step farther. Assassin's Creed's like a game where you're back in the Crusades as an assassin, and it's from Ubisoft. They take it a step further with a hotline, an Assassin's Creed hotline in the reviewer's guide. Yeah, basically, it's funny though because the hours are only between 10 and 3, so you can't like call it at like 9 at night. But I think it'd be funny to get like a little kid to call it and then be like, "Hi, I'm stuck on level 6. I can't."
So this is strictly for the press to call. It's a hotline for like.
Yeah.
Yes, but I'm debating putting it in the review. By the way,
I quoted the review guide for Medal of Honor Airborne review.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm actually playing that now, so I want to go back and read.
Go take a look at it and see what I said. But yeah, I think when those first started coming out, I was assuming that it was for the increasing prevalence of sort of do-it-yourself fan sites and things like that, where. I mean, I'm not saying that they're easier to buy out or whatever, but I think that publishers might assume as much because it's like, hey, I mean, I just started this site and I'm super excited to get on, I'm on a press release mailing list. You guys send me an email every time your game goes gold or every time you get a photo taken with a baseball player, wearing a shirt. And then you get some free games now and then. And then you read it, and it's basically they're very they're definitely written in such a way we want you to understand. Here's some things that are super important to us, and they'll the EA ones will hammer home their catchphrases for every little thing. You know how they have got to name something?
Yeah.
Everything's got its own little trademark on it. And like the Black Hand, whatever technique or something for Godfather, that was one that I looked at and laughed at. You got to remember, all this stuff is, we're really trying to do this, that, and the other thing. And then when you go and read, I've actually read some reviews not from those fan sites, and they basically read as though, I mean, it could be suspicion, but in my mind, they read as though someone read that and they somehow absorbed those points and were like, whatever the thought process was, decided that, I need to like just drive these points home too.
Right.
Or Sam.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like here's our last attempt. It's like blowing a kiss at the judge right after you did your your thing,
Yeah, I can picture a game like Lair where you're sitting there without your reviewer's guide just going, these controls are bullshit. And then you pick up the reviewer's guide and says, our controls are bullshit because... And you're like, oh, all right.
What you got to understand is... Yeah, and this is like before you go and, think of the dumb movie you go into. And say you're you go into whatever Batman, and there's some scene where someone falls off a cliff and then the guy reaches to, this is in Batman Begins, and the guy reaches over and grabs his hand just in time. And you're like, dude, is he gonna pull him up? Is he gonna do it? What if he drops him? But, and you're making fun of that, right? But then what if the guide was like, we found people just love the tension involved in this and that they've sweat. We've, hooking up electrodes to them. We've seen a physiological change where they're just, we want you to know this, Chris, before you make fun of that, that people, they get worked up when they see that.
It was intentional. Oh, okay. That makes sense.
I agree with everything you're saying. I could see where there might be some games where they probably feel, there's probably some definitely like blowing the kiss to the judge, but there's probably also like maybe a feeling on the developer's part, like especially for sites or publications where they know these people are going to just put an hour or two in it, where they're desperately trying to get these people who are reviewing their games to actually look at certain things that are in there that if they don't point them out to, they won't because the critics are too lazy.
Right, they won't. Yeah, they won't.
Or where they feel like their game just isn't understood. Or totally what Sean just said is totally right. That like here's the justification for why our controls suck so bad. There's that, but on the other side, reading through the Tabula Rasa one before I tossed it into the garbage yesterday. But before I threw it out, I looked through it and I saw they're actually pointing out some of the more deeper things in the game that if you just did a cursory look at it, you wouldn't see.
Well, I'm sure I know there's a sentiment with some, not every developer, but some developers that game reviewers don't get it or are lazy. Because I've had some friends who've worked at developers who've said, sentiment towards games press is pretty much like, what a bunch of lazy bastards who don't get it. So I'm sure that's part of the element too. And I'm not saying every developer thinks that, but I've heard that sentiment expressed before. So it's got to be some part of it. Yeah, they want to educate. I understand the desire to do that, but you just got to take that with.
Yeah,
it's an opinionated manual when the opinion is written by the people who made the game, basically.
The ones that I've read are specifically written in such a way where it's like things that everyone would know. It's like, here's our bullet pointed list. These are the things we think that set this game apart, that are, are its strengths. And it's like they're right there so that when it comes time to write, you got that list to go right back to. Like, hey, this is good, this is good, this is good, this is good. And by the way, it's also called this technique or this technique. And
I usually just use the box itself and the box art.
Right.
That's how I use it. This cutting edge 3D experience will blow you away like no other.
I heard it's
and then
compelling.
I just put my name on it, and it sounds really good.
Compelling.
Cool.
10 out of 10.
So what before we get back into the reviews, Meyer, that's our siren. It just keeps calling us.
Yeah, it does.
What? Talking
reviews.
About but
it's our living. That's just what we do. That's why we talk about it.
Let's talk some more about them.
It's the meat of our bread and butter.
Hey, we got to stick that in the review this month. Anyone who could put that in the review gets like a $50 bonus.
A mixed bag of meat and bread and butter.
And potatoes.
Yeah, potatoes come up a lot too. So what's gaming time? I can't wait to talk about Crysis, but that's going to be another week or so.
Yeah.
With the demo, we could talk about that. Have you guys been playing? I can't say too much because at this point now I've played so much of the game. Well, I played all of Crysis once, and I'm going through it a second time that it's difficult for me to extricate just the demo experience from everything else.
It's getting an 11, right, out of 10 from us?
If possible, I'd like so. The review guide said that this would be the case where it would make sense to do that. Yeah,
to give it an 11.
Right.
If any PC game ever.
They had a good. Yeah. They basically gave me some algorithms that showed me objectively why this game
is an 11.
Is an 11 objectively. Yeah. But they said, look, we understand sometimes you like to be subjective and just throw unsubstantiated opinions out there. If you want to do that, go ahead. Otherwise,
here's a few that you might get away with.
Sure. Right. Well, we've given 10s to games that are less than perfect because a 10 we're saying overall the experience is a 10. Yes, no game could ever be perfect, right? So if you were going to only give a perfect game a 10, no game would ever get a 10. So we're saying in general on a curve, this game is a 10. So I think that sets us up for giving Crysis an 11.
Yeah. I was like, where are we going with this?
I'm just preemptively, I'm saying, I'm giving you the clearance to give it an 11.
Yeah. I'm glad.
12.
I would have done it even
give
if
it a 12.
If you didn't give me clearance. I would have went back into the document before it went to the printer.
Or maybe Crysis gets the 11 because then StarCraft 2 is going to get the 12.
We're going to have to clarify, too, now. Don't assume, this is all just tongue-in-cheek. Don't assume that we are saying if we could give it I'm not saying either way.
Crisis might get us 2 for all we know. We could be totally joking.
The entire range is there. You guys play the demo?
I'm just waiting for the real thing.
Like what point in the is it totally separate from the single player game, or is it like a chunk of it?
We got Darren off mic asking.
Yeah.
No, that's okay. I'm just re-asking it for those who can't hear.
The demo is...
Darren's asking for when the demo goes up to.
The demo is of the sliver of the very first level.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just waiting. I know I'm going to play it, so I haven't even bothered trying.
Yeah, I haven't played the demo yet.
I'm also in a situation where I'm playing something, but...
It's kind of one of those great demos, though. I mean, even any slice of that game where you can play it again and again. Where for me, the single-player Call of Duty 4 demo was like, played it once and that was it. No interest to play that again because it's very much through, here's the tram tour, you took it, you're good to go. Right. When you have another kid, you can come back and ride it again. But the Crysis one is there's just so much that you could do. You know, I mean, I've compared it demo-wise to one of the classic demos, the Metal Gear Solid 2 one, in that, you know, you could get a lot of mileage out of it. Part of it was just looking at like, wow, look how good this looks, and I kind of wish I had this game, but I'm going to try this and that. Maybe there's some secrets in it, and yeah, I mean, I think it gives a pretty good, fair indication of what a part of the game is like. Yeah.
I mean, I watched Darren play it. My PC at home has no chance of keeping up, but it just made me like think, you know, from a console perspective, like that engine is so amazing. Like all the different genres, even that engine could be used for.
Yeah.
Like such an incredibly detailed, lush world with waterfalls and all of that, like an Oblivion or something like that would just.
I keep thinking of Golf Sim.
Darren's passing a note about
that just fucking died.
Sorry. Yeah, I just was sorry. I didn't even hear. I used Golf Sim, and then Darren left a note. I want to talk about the DX10, and we don't have a mic.
There isn't.
We're out of mics here.
So,
well, I could step out. You guys are into the PC.
The reason I didn't want to talk about that, Darren, is because it was off the record.
Oh. We got an off-the-record thing.
Yeah.
Okay, we're not going to talk about it.
So, yeah.
Okay.
The engine would work well with so many things, I believe.
Yeah, it's just incredible. Like, I mean, it's kind of a pipe dream, but like you look at the way the Zelda series has gone, like they've experimented with different graphics, and like their version of the more realistic Zelda is still on basically GameCube hardware, and the world still looks fine, but the potential with that kind of engine, with like such an incredible forest environment and all that.
For like, especially I'm thinking like horror stuff too, or just for anything with tension, because when the environment is so natural and it's so easy to feel like you're in it,
right?
That it seems like it all the more easier to scare you, and do things like that. Yeah, I mean, there's so many. Because there really are times I can't talk about it yet; it's embargoed. But yeah,
okay.
Has there been any
but even in that level, though, yeah, I mean, even in that demo level, there are sections where it seems it's so naturalistic that you can say, "What if they did this, that?" You know, and it would be.
Yeah,
I guess really next week, if Sean is wearing a Crisis T-shirt, we'll know
that it is
when he's talking about Crisis.
Why are you saying that? I already gave you my excuse. They gave me some shirt, and I was like, the one time I took them, because like they have cool illustrations.
This is a cool shirt
for the comic listeners out here. It looks like it was modeled on Bill Sienkiewicz, who's one of my favorite. I mean, I know he didn't do it. Another one, maybe a little bit of Paul Pope in there. An illustrator.
Okay, you don't have to be defensive.
So they, it's not just like
you can wear your game industry swag.
Come on, man. But all right, let's get back to comic books. You know, here's something we haven't done in a while.
Let's talk about Mephisto and Spider-Man some more.
Yeah, we can talk about that. And we could also, like, I mean, if you got any, you know, people, last time we talked about books we were reading in general, people liked it. We could talk about if we have any comics to recommend. We do a lot of making fun of comics and haven't talked so much about the ones that we think are worth reading.
I'm not reading any.
Mephisto?
Not reading any comics? Reading any books?
Yeah, I'm reading books, but I probably recommended this. I've been reading the same book since August.
That Mephisto told you, he went to Jeff Green and said, I will give you $40 more a month in your bank account, but you can't read comics anymore.
Whoa.
Or you can never have married your wife.
Day one.
Yeah, damn it. No, I'm done with comics at this point in my life. Not forever. Yeah. Right now, I'm on a moratorium.
You could read them at the Bruce Springfield. Bruce Springsteen.
Fucking hell. See, this is what's wrong with the youth of today. Bruce Springfield.
I could tell
Well,
you
that's
about
like something an old
Buffalo
person-
Springfield. Why that's dope.
Did you go to the Bruce Springfield concert, honey? How was it?
Well, it's like no old person can pronounce anything right. That's always my grandma was like, I don't know what online service she uses now, but she'll always call it CompuSave till the day she dies. Oh, I'm on CompuSave. First of all, it was CompuServe, but it doesn't matter because you're on something totally different.
Shit.
But that's all right.
I'm already getting to that point then because I always say Walgreens when it's Rite Aid, or I say Rite Aid when it's Walgreens, or
that's
you know
totally
that.
forgivable. I think.
Go there and get the. Did we ever tell the story of Chief Pemmican?
I think we did.
Right.
Yeah.
Fucking Chief. You ain't gonna tell it anymore.
They have excellent customer service. It's all over. Their beef jerky smells like garbage.
What beef jerky doesn't smell like garbage?
That's true. Some of it looks like shit. Some of it smells like shit.
Some of
Then
it's good.
When you get the two together.
But it was like, like the Chief Pemmican. Fuck it. We don't have to tell the story again. We can still talk about it. There's no one telling me I can't. That stuff smelled so bad. It was like you could leave it in someone's car under their seat if you wanted to fuck with them. And then they'd get in their car and just like be looking for like the dead squirrel or something.
Shit. Man, you totally just reminded me. I've got. Yesterday we went to Chipotle, this Mexican joint.
Left something in the car?
Yeah, no, I left. I didn't finish my burrito, so I took it. I was going to take it home to eat last night for dinner. It's still sitting in my backpack. This burrito's still sitting in there in my office.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I probably want to put a sign up in my office not to come in there.
Man.
It's like this, I think it was from going swimming in a river or something, and I had these shoes, these sneakers that by the time they dried, they smelled like so wicked. And I think we took those and shoved them under the seat of my friend's car when we went somewhere. And we came back in, the whole thing was just saturated.
Who do we hate on this floor here that I could put my burrito under their chair for the rest of the day here? How about Garnet on one of yours? I got a surprise coming for you, Garnet.
Hey, that's because
we love the man.
He called us rabble, so
Yeah, he called us rabble, so he's getting my...
Here, get him lunch.
He's getting my... Yeah. Well, surprise waiting for you, one up yours.
Have some landfill to eat.
that's what rabble can't help it. Rabble feeds you dirty
The
burritos.
nature of the rabble.
I think we've hit bottom.
No, we haven't.
Long
We
time.
haven't even. I brought up talking about comic books and books.
The problem
You
here...
guys are like,
the problem here...
I don't even read anymore.
Well, the
Comics.
problem here is that we thought we had a 1 o'clock stop. It's now 1:25, and there's still nobody coming in here. So we're sort of...
It looks like they might have wandered to another room.
That's fine, though. We don't.
So we're
don't
sort
need
of
to-
lost here. We just keep talking.
Well, what about this?
We've got nothing to talk about.
Well, Crispin, have you read Walking Dead yet?
I read that.
I'm
No.
going to you instead of Jeff because Jeff already
That's the
said he
comic
didn't
series?
I don't read
Yeah.
comics.
Well, this might.
I read the other zombie series that was out a while ago. Wait, was that Walking Dead? Where they wind up in a prison?
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
still going.
Oh, okay.
It's zombies in prison?
No,
Oh, I'm sorry. I heard you wrong.
but that's a great series. It's
Yeah.
still going. I was thinking about this. I was like, I don't. All the book because I went and bought books last week, and I was like, I got Walking Dead, Blade of the Immortal, new Vagabond collection, and 100 Bullets, and Powers. And of all those, and there's this other one, Ex Machina. And of all those books, it's like Powers is the one that's got a superhero type thing in it, but it's
Right.
not really about that. It's about detectives who investigate crimes involving
Is
people.
that still
Yeah.
going?
With
Or is
superpowers?
this just a
Yes.
It's still going, and it's
Wow.
it's awesome. It's like actually been going places too.
Four of
they've
those
done
you
so
just
many-
mentioned are ones I stopped reading like a year ago, but just because like
Wait, is 100
not because
Bullets
they were
still
bad,
going?
but
It's still going, yeah.
Wow.
I just wait for the graphic
they're on like
novel.
87.
Huh.
It's
Same writers on all those books?
yeah, the same teams. That's the other thing about those
Azzarello
books.
on,
Yeah,
100
all
Bullets?
the books I've mentioned are definitely it's like either one person or it's the same team, and
So it's Bendis
that
on
way.
Power still?
Yes,
Bendis?
Bendis, and however you pronounce the other guy, OEMING.
Oming?
Yeah, I'm not sure what
I don't know
happens
either.
with that Carnegie. Is it like Ermig or something? I don't know.
could
Wait,
be.
it's like Yarming.
Carnegie Ludwig.
Are you excited about that Wanted movie that's coming out based on that?
Oh God, dude!
Oh,
I just
God.
heard about that, but
What?
Let's not talk about that anymore.
Why?
It's like
Because it's something Mark Millar's involved in.
Oh,
and
you
he
love
doesn't
him.
need any of our
Ryan gets so
support.
mad. Mark Millar, you got to pronounce his name right,
It's Miller.
bitch.
Nothing.
I have heard
hates
the
him
guy
so
pronounce
much.
it himself.
Really?
Yes,
Okay,
it's
so Mark Miller. is a comic writer, and he did the Ultimates, which called the Ultimates, not Ultimate Spider-Man or Ultimate X-Men. Or
am I allowed to say that series was cool?
I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah,
that's the exception to my superhero
that's
thing.
Wanted was pretty good too.
So what's Ryan's problem?
Hates them.
The dude's the biggest self-congratulatory douchebag in the entire comics industry.
See, I don't know that side of him. I just know his comics.
That's the thing. Yeah, are you trying to be his friend, or are you trying to read his comic book? I'm
Well, I just don't.
People say this